Hey everybody, today I'm going to make this Preemie Beanie, and it measures a little over 4 inches in width and a little over 3 inches in height. So with this project I chose Caron Simply Soft. It's a really nice soft yarn for a newborn or a premature baby. And I'm also going to be using a 5.0 millimeter or H hook. All right, let's get started. So with a hat or a beanie, we're going to start with the magic circle, and everyone I'm sure has their own unique way of doing it. And then in the magic circle, we are going to put 10 half double crochets.
Before you close the circle, just make sure that you counted correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, looks good. So we're going to go ahead and close the circle. Just pull that tail nice and tight. And then just kind of get it ready. Now, before I start round 2, I always like to make sure I have my stitch marker. Here, let me get a blue one. It's easier to see. So I just get it ready for round 2. All right, round 2 is an increase round. So we are going to put 2 half double crochets into each stitch. I just like to chain 1 just to get a little height. And then I put my stitch marker in that first stitch. All right, so then now let's just check to make sure we have 20 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Wonderful. And we're right there at the stitch marker. Now just make sure that when you start round 3, you don't get confused with that chain 1 that I made in the beginning of this round just to give me that height. I'm going to go right into the next stitch. Okay, so round 3. In this round, it is going to be, the pattern is going to be
2 1. So that means you're going to do an increase in the first stitch, and an increase is 2 stitches. Don't forget to put your stitch marker back in the first stitch of the round. So it's going to be 2 and then 1. And then you're going to repeat that all the way around. And at the end, you should have 30 stitches. Okay, so let's make sure we have 30. Okay, looks good. Okay, round 4. So this one can be a little confusing, so hopefully I can be clear with the instruction. So this is where we're going to start adding this detail. It's really pretty stitch, okay? So you're going to skip the first stitch, and you're going in the second stitch, going to put a single crochet, and then don't forget to place your stitch marker, and then a double crochet. And then you're going to skip a stitch, and then in the next stitch you're going to do the same thing. A single crochet,
and then a double. And you're going to repeat that all the way to the end. And then if you have the right number of stitches correct, you will have an empty stitch at the end, and you're supposed to. Okay, so if you remember in the beginning, it told us to skip a stitch. So this is actually the beginning of round 4. And this is that last stitch from round 5. I know it's a little confusing. So
That is round 4. All right, round 5 is going to be very similar to round 4 in that it's the single crochet, double crochet, skip. So this is where we ended on round 4. So our pattern was to skip a stitch and then put your single crochet and then your double. And then don't forget to put your stitch marker. And then just repeat your pattern. So you're going to skip the next stitch, then you're going to do your single crochet, and your double. And go ahead and work that all the way around, and I will meet you back.
And you'll notice there is 1 stitch remaining for round 5.
And you can see that really pretty stitch starting to form. All right, so the next 3 rounds, round 6, 7, and 8, is going to be a repeat of round 5. So what I like to do when I have just solid crocheting when you're just going around is I like to do a little cheat. Now remember, our pattern is to skip a stitch and then it's a single crochet and a double crochet. And so what I like to do is take a locking stitch marker, place it in the legs of that first stitch, and then I know that this is the beginning of round 6. So every time I go around, that'll be the end of round 6, then the end of round 7, and then the end of round 8, and I'll know to stop. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back here at the end of round 8. All right, well, we are almost done. So I've just completed round 8, and you can really see that pattern coming in now, and you should be having that bowl shape at this point. Okay, so now for the next 3 rounds, 9, 10, and 11, we are going to do the single crochet, and that just really sets off that the bottom. Okay, so it's just 3 rounds of single crochet, and you probably don't need a stitch marker since you can recognize what the single crochet looks like. And then I'm just going to use that locking stitch marker as my guide, so when I come around, that'll be completion of row 9, 10, and then 11. So go ahead and do those 3 rounds, and I will meet you back. All right, I'm coming to the last few stitches of round 11, so I thought I would start recording again. So I just go right up to the line of where that locking stitch marker is. And it doesn't have to be exact. As if you stop a stitch before or a stitch after where you're supposed to be, it really doesn't change the project. So that's about right. And then you can see this is where I started my single crochet. So this was the beginning of round 9, the beginning of round 10, and the beginning of round 11. So now you're all done. So what I like to do is slip stitch into the next stitch. And then I've cut my yarn. You don't need a really long tail, just long enough to sew in your tails, sorry. And I like to slip stitch one more time, and then I just pull tight, and then you just go ahead and sew that in, and you're all done. And you have 2 hats that should be identical. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and like and leave a comment for me. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much.